Let me have your attention for a moment.
Stay calm.
What is it?
What is it?
A life form of its own.
Head straight for him!
Be afraid.
The voice on the radio.
More than just a man.
This is something much
Everything will be all right.
more dangerous. Dangerous.
Stand by to transmit.
Receiving you. Over.
Now hear this.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Morning, everyone. 6 minutes after the hour. Welcome to the Sunrise Show. Craig Fronikin as your host. Thrilled to be here on this gorgeous day, and it's going to be hot. I guess I can call it that. 80 plus, 85 plus, 87 is what they saw. And in the studio with me, Jackson County Commissioner Doug Breidenthal.
Good morning, Craig. How you doing today?
Good. I'm good. Thanks for being in this morning. We've got all kinds of things. So I brought you in early and OLCC, and that's part of the whole marijuana piece. You've been on the Rules Committee. Is that right?
Yes, I sit on the Oregon Liquor Control Commission Rules Advisory Committee for the creation of the Oregon Administrative Rule.
I just talked about this edibles coming out of Bend. Is that weird that they're commenting? Associated Press is commenting.
Well, why is the Mail Tribune printing Bend local news?
I
don't understand that.
I don't
okay.
know. I know
it has nothing to do with local.
I know it. It's kind of, well, okay. Hey, you know what? Kind of like with me, I get my news from everywhere. So,
yeah.
And then what's happening? Oh, the Oregon Forest Resource Council. You were up with them.
AFRC, American Forest Resource Council, spent the last week with them in their annual meeting. Got to talk with Chairman Bishop from the Energy and Natural Resource Committee for the House. Congressman Walden was there. Had a really good conversation about what the future holds with our lands and what we're trying to go to.
Was there any discussion about this Owyhee Canyon Lands National Monument over in Malheur County?
You know, that's not really timber land.
I know.
So the National Monument piece is a little bit different than the timber discussion.
So it kind of stays in the back burner.
Yeah, and no one really wants to see those national monuments come into play, but it's one of those things where it's like this particular meeting was focused on timber.
Exactly. We're going to be talking more about what's happening in the county. Of course, wow.
And then finished up the week with the Oregon Liquor Control Commission on the Rules Advisory Committee, where you just were coming up. We did 95 pages of the administrative law for how the medical marijuana will be implemented or brought back into the OLCC program.
I mean, rural residential.
That was a full day's worth of.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was spinning sideways, and I didn't know if it was a residual high or what from some of the guys in the room. I tell you.
Well, you know what's interesting, Commissioner, is that the rural residential. I saw that flap, and then of course, first part of March there was the legislative. I don't know what you want to call it. It was a feature by the Mail Tribune.
Oh, saying that we screwed everything up. And I have Bates and Buckley saying Jackson County didn't interpret it correctly. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Actually, what's really nice about this is we just got confirmation from the Legislative Council for the Oregon House and the Senate, and basically said Jackson County is the only county who actually got it right because we interpreted it correctly. You have to understand, this is 3 years of my life as a commissioner. For the last 3 years, I have been traveling, I have been studying, I've been in Colorado, I've been to Washington, I've been talking to commissioners, I've been going on the ground, trying to figure out what the best way and the right way to get this done correctly, and been working with the State Association of Oregon Counties to be able to implement and craft these laws so they meet the needs of the community. Since Measure 91, we knew that was passing. So we're going to be in a position where we're stuck with marijuana sales because that's what the voters put in place. So since if we have to go here, then let's make sure this is done in a very comprehensive manner, and let's make sure it's done in such a way that it benefits the community and not just a deterrent to the community. So 3 years of my life I've been putting into this, and for those two guys to come up and have the paper say Jackson County didn't get it right, and it was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I
and
know.
Then, but have Legislative Council come back and say Jackson County is the only one that's gotten it right in the state of Oregon just vindicates us, and I just feel so good about it.
Well, exactly. And then it comes out apologized, and that came out in the online version, not the printed version of the article. Very interesting. But we got to get to a break, and then we'll come right back. And then you've got an interview that's going to be airing related to Jackson County business on KOBI Channel 5.
Well, everybody's talking about all that stuff that's been going on with me and the ethics or whatever, and frankly, not everything that the Mail Tribune prints is 100% accurate. So if you read it, you might be a little bit confused on what's really going on.
Is there spin?
There's, just how do I say this politely? There's a little bit of spin. They have their own agenda.
All right, good deal.
So, but yeah, on Channel 5 tonight, 6 o'clock hour, bottom half
is
of
it
6 o'clock hour, if I understand.
Okay.
That they'll be doing a multiple part segment over a couple of days. It was a 1 hour interview. I think I'll be able to sort of talk about what reality is.
Wow, great. All right, let's get to a break and come back. More in the Sunrise Show. We've got Jackson County Commissioner Doug Breidenthal in the studio with us this morning. Yeah, I was amazed to see back on Friday the 11th of March, Peter Buckley and Representative Buckley and Senator Bates said Jackson County is misinterpreting new marijuana law. And then even Commissioner Dyer said no, state limits pot growth. And then Buckley was saying, no, that wasn't the intent. Well, it was found out to be that the legislature actually didn't get it quite right for Jackson County.
Imagine that.
Back after this. Good morning, everybody. 18 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the Sunrise Show. Craig Fronikin, thrilled to be here, continuing with Jackson County Commissioner Doug Breidenthal, and great to have you on, sir.
It's always a pleasure.
Well, thanks for coming in. A lot of business, a lot of things going on in the county. Seasons are changing, heat, and of course, we went through this first. We were talking marijuana earlier, the first growing season marijuana, and rural residential. A lot of folks upset over that, and that's an unfortunate thing. I mean, if they were starting a venture under false pretenses, is what I was saying.
Well, defined a lot of folks upset over it. Really, I mean, I'm getting probably just as many phone calls or letters saying, hey, thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that don't want that right next to their home. Remember, rural residential was never designed for commercial use. When the legislature decided to label marijuana production on both the recreation and medical side as farm use, that was designed to protect the industry, as Buckley and Bates was that was their intent. Let's protect them because we're going to give them farm use, and that's a commercial venture. Well, under Oregon land use law, Senate Bill 100, you gotta love Senate Bill 100, the thing that we've been fighting for years. And this is where I kind of find it ironic, because those people who have supported the land use laws for years are now fighting the land use laws because they don't like the way it affects them. But the irony is just classic.
Yeah.
However, the rural residential piece, its farm use is prohibited under rural residential and Jackson County Code because of the fact it's a commercial. It makes it a commercial venture. You're not selling. You're not creating a crop to sell it. So if you wanted to sell tomatoes or lettuce or anything else, you would have to do that on EFU or anything else, because that is not allowed on rural residential. So we could not treat marijuana any different.
So now, of course, and it's rural residential. What's the is there denotation on size or?
Oh, rural residential goes from anywhere from 2.5, 1 point something, all the way up to R20, I believe.
Yeah.
So it just, there's different sizes of rural residential, and if you look at Jackson County, we're very parcellated. So there's small parcels everywhere around the county. And does this make complete sense for some areas? No, it really doesn't.
Yeah, that's my next question.
If you look at the Applegate, everybody loves the Applegate. The Applegate was designed and created under the rural residential concept. It was never really going to be urbanized, but it was going to be a rural community with the residential concepts. And that's what allowed multiple houses instead of having large parcels or big ranches. So the problem is areas like the Applegate, where they want to be able to grow some marijuana out there on smaller pieces, it doesn't quite fit. And the rural residential piece doesn't quite fit. And you really can't zone it back to resource land because it's already been parcelized.
Now, take out the marijuana piece, and let's say we want to grow a crop. I don't care what it is, corn or anything like that. At some point, if someone was growing a commercial venture on rural residential,
That's actually prohibited.
that is prohibited, correct? And so you could be reported or whatever. But where does it turn from, say, a boutique or a garden that they would take extras down to the farmer's market?
Technically, a boutique or a garden where they take extras down to a farmer's market's not legal. either.
That's what I was getting at. Is it because it turns, if you
That's a
have
commercial venture.
anything that you're selling
Right.
means commercial. So if you have, even if you've got a garden that's half an acre and that puts out a lot of produce,
Right.
if you go to sell any of it, that could be,
Technically, no one's going to do it.
I know, I get that, yeah.
But technically, your neighbor could call you in to code enforcement, and then that would really be a problem.
Yikes. Now, related to code enforcement, that was perfect because that's in my next lead in. There was a fear with the marijuana and code enforcement and having to set up the whole entire code enforcement department. And there was a little bit of, an officer, and because you don't have, right, Jackson County, there's code enforcement, but what's the manpower there?
We have code enforcement. It's minimal. It's not real big.
But you figured you had to hire another additional officer.
Well, it depends on how much the potential there. And a lot of that was when we were doing the initial taxation on the production piece. And that's when we were having to look at that potential of hiring somebody. But there was enough revenue to be able to do that and to be able to meet the needs for the community. However, the state legislature, in their infinite wisdom, because they obviously got it right, I'm sorry, that was a little bit of sarcasm.
I know,
My
sarcasm
apologies.
and punning. I know,
I
get
shouldn't
that.
do it. But the legislature basically took away our local ability to put a tax on it and limited it to that 3%. So they basically reversed what the voters did here in Jackson County and nullified it, and then said, okay, but if you want to move forward in the future, you can vote again on this tax, but it's only going to be up to 3%. You can't do any more than that, which is really, it's like, what the heck? You're going to tell us that we're going to have to grow marijuana. You're going to tell us where we have to grow marijuana. You're going to tell us when we don't get the laws right or wrong, even though we do get them right. And then you're going to tell us how much we can and can't tax it. Where's this local control piece,
And the next thing is the 3% is based off of the production levels, and so it's all in a pool, and then the money's going to go.
The 3% is all based on sales through the dispensaries. And if you don't have a whole bunch of dispensaries, you don't have a whole bunch of sales. So they basically wrote the program in such a way that it was promoting the sale of marijuana within a community so that the community would buy in because of the lure of money. But in reality, it's not that much. When you look at Southern Oregon, we grow for the Portland area or for the other areas.
Absolutely.
We don't consume nearly the amount that we grow. I mean, we have thousands of farms. We don't have thousands of dispensaries.
Yeah, and the revenue coming back, and then you wonder, okay, for any of the addiction recovery centers.
The Jackson County has to bear the burden for the entire criminal justice system. We don't pay the salary of the judges or the staff in the judge's courtroom, but we do pay for the security for the building. We do pay for the building, the maintenance of the building. We do the entire DA's staff, and we even supplement or subsidize the DA's salary so that we get a good quality DA like we have with our district attorney, Beth Heckert.
Yeah.
But we have to subsidize that to get quality people in there. And then all the parole, probations, the addictions recovery, we give large
that's
amounts
not
of money
paying.
to that.
So we're losing money ultimately.
When we see the people that are going to get Deweys or these different arrest pieces related to this, I don't see the amount of revenue coming into Jackson County from marijuana being able to cover the cost that it adds to the system. Now, can I say what those actual costs are at this point in time? No, I can't, because it's still new. We're still trying to figure it out. We're still trying to move forward. Now, there is an argument saying now with the legalization of marijuana that the court cases will go down because we're not prosecuting everybody for having an ounce or 3 ounces. But frankly, that hasn't been happening for the last few years anyway.
What about the crime? I think Medford PD would tell you that the crime is up because they need more money to buy the drugs they have.
That's what I'm seeing also. The crime is coming up as a result of it. But, they haven't been prosecuting a lot of these marijuana cases for years. So it's not like it's going to make a big difference that way. So that piece of it is sort of set aside. But let's sort of measure what the actual costs are to the community, and then try to figure out a funding stream. One thing I have to give Buckley and Bates credit for is they have come out and publicly said the funding mechanism is not correct, and we have to look at the readdressing the funding coming back to rural or local rural Oregon, because the sales are all up in Portland, but all the grow and the impact is down in the southern Oregon or in the rural communities. So readdressing that algorithm, or what that formula looks like to get the funding back in, I think we've been very successful. That's been my biggest argument from the beginning, and I've led the charge on that statewide. And I think that's kind of going to bear some fruit here in the next year or two. That's good. It's interesting. We're talking with Jackson County Commissioner Doug Breidenthal, and it's interesting, Commissioner, is that I've been talking, there's this fight between the urban and the rural counties, and I was talking to one of the leaders, one of the other commissioners, and that the urban counties need the rural counties, and the rural counties need the urban. They don't realize it yet, but here's a perfect example of the urban counties need us because, hey guys, we grow all your pot down here, the best in the land, ladies and gentlemen, best in the land in Jackson County. Oh my gosh, you sounding like you're a stoner or something there. Watch it. I just kind of leaned into the mic. Hey, you're trying to get your acting abilities there. We got to get to a break, and we'll be right back. More on the Sunrise Show on News Radio 880 KCMX. Back after this. Spicoli. Watch out. Good morning, everyone. 34 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the Sunrise Show. Craig Fronikin continuing with Jackson County Commissioner Doug Breidenthal. And Commissioner, thanks for coming in this morning. You got interviewed. KLBI TV Channel 5. It's going to air tonight? Tonight, yeah. Talking in the 6 o'clock hour. My understanding, it's the bottom half of the 6 o'clock hour. But in-depth interview related to this recent FLAP ethics commission, all of this, there's campaign. There's so much out there that is just misinformation that the papers published at this point in time, and a lot of people are having a misperception of what's really going on. So I agreed with Channel 5 to go ahead and do an hour-long interview, a little less than an hour. I think it was like 52 minutes, give or take. But they asked the questions, I addressed them, and we talked about what was happening actually. I talked a little bit about how I felt betrayed from the county administrator in that whole process because of his prior knowledge in 2014, and how he encouraged me to do things. So I encourage people to tune into Channel 5 and about 6:30, somewhere in the 6 o'clock hour, and just tune into Channel 5 News and pay attention. It's starting tonight, and it's going to be aired over multiple nights and multiple segments, to my understanding. Part 1, 2, whatever. Yeah, and this has filtered out through the last few months. But one of the things I noticed that you had to refile after the Ethics Commission brought up some issues, and you hadn't filed correctly the first time, and it was... I kind of liken it to your taxes. Everybody has to file taxes, and when you're new at filing taxes, you never get it right, correct? Some people do. You hire people to do that for you a lot of times. As an elected official, you have to a statement of economic interest. And a lot of commissioners, when they're new, or a lot of elected people, when they're new, they don't understand all the details. It's like you have to state where this money comes from, or where that money comes from, or how the dollars move through everything. And I know one commissioner up north, she came to me and she goes, Doug, this sucks. I'm sorry you're going through this. I had to deal with this when I was brand new also. I got turned in because I didn't state my salary from the county as part of my statement of economic interest. I looked at her and said, what? And she goes, yeah, you have to state where you get if you receive a salary from the county, you have to say, I received my salary from the county that you work for. Even when or whatever organization that you work for that you receive the money. And a lot of people don't even realize that part. So there's a lot of these statements that are not filled out 100% accurate. So what we did is I had the attorneys look at my statements and say, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Educate me.
And you had messed up.
I just amended it.
It was like $1,600 or something like that.
It wasn't even that much. Okay. It was like $1,100, $1,200 worth of looking at it and say, okay, this could be potential So I'm going to err on the side of caution, even though you're telling me it doesn't really need to be that much.
But,
I'm just gonna state this anyway.
Well, and the biggest complaint is that elected officials can't accept gifts over $50.
Actually, that's not true. When you're talking about trade missions or economic development and stuff like that, and these types of activities, there are exemptions. And even in my statement of economic interest, it says under these exemptions, list the amount of money that was given to you. And so the $50 concept that you just referred to isn't necessarily accurate.
Okay, so there are exemptions.
Yes.
Just give me an example of an exemption that might be there for some reason.
Let's say I am acting in behalf of the county to do economic trade. I'm going to take products from Jackson County, and I'm going to display those products in another state or in another county and try to bring businesses from those areas back to Jackson County to be able to do business here in Jackson County.
All right.
Okay. Now, that's not necessarily a county function. Does that make sense?
Right. It's a sales function.
It's something. It's an economic
You're
mission
representing the groups,
county.
Yeah.
So there's businesses that say, we want you to do this for us, and we're gonna pay your way, and we're gonna provide the product. You're not receiving a salary; just the expenses are covered. So you're gonna go there. You're gonna do this work, and you're gonna do all this thing, and let's just say we're successful and we bring some of that business back, and then that's all positive.
But you can't turn any of those expenses into the county because it's done on different times.
Because it's done on different times. So those are the exemptions that are allowed, and that's kind of what's happened here. Part of what I did is I brought product to a different state, and I showcased a lot of our companies.
And you were not representing the county at that point, so it's separate.
I was running for office at that point, and it was a campaign. The campaign is one of those things that is exempted because it's with the state it's a professional organization. Professional organization is one of those exemptions.
One of the things that I haven't really heard, well, maybe I've asked, but your campaign donors when you're running for what was it, Association of
the Western Interstate region, hey, on the positive side, I assume the presidency this May.
Oh, very good.
I'll be the president of the National Association of Counties, Western Interstate region. I will have one of the strongest
in May. That's not too far off.
Just next month. And I will have the strongest voice for the county at the county level in the nation. And a lot of people don't realize that. When we talk about our public lands, when we talk about our roads and transportation and healthcare and pieces like that, waters of the U.S., how the waters are affected, or storm drains and everything like that, my voice will have the strongest voice. And people liken it to the Western Governors Association.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So, and there's times that I'm going to be expected to go meet with the Western Governors Association and their leadership to be able to work together with the states and the county level on a national basis to be able to work on federal legislation that'll affect us. So if there's a time, this is one of the things I really enjoy about what I'm currently doing. When I campaigned to do this job, I said, I'm going to put people back to work in the woods. I'm going to position myself.
That's what Senator Wyden says.
And I'm going to get some things done. My first term in office, I positioned myself that I can actually get things done. And a lot of people are saying, well, why'd you spent this money on a campaign or whatever? The reason part of that I had to do that is because most of the people that sit in this position that I'm about ready to assume are 15, 20-year commissioners.
Right.
And they're well known nationally, and they have a very...
And that's how they get elected, by their reputation.
Their
but
peers,
you had to kind of leapfrog.
I had to come in there, and I had to do receptions. I had to be able to find venues to be able to showcase and share my knowledge of how to get things done with my peers so that they would respect me and understand where I'm going to a level in which they felt comfortable to put me in the position they put me in. So I'm looking forward to be able to serve Jackson County in this capacity, and I'm looking forward to be able to make some of these changes. I see some of these changes already happening. If I look at Walden's 1526 and Bishop's 2647 that came out that we talk about on land use, a lot of those concepts, or some of those concepts, came out of my office with the white papers that I worked with them on to be able to develop categorical exclusions and pieces on that. Now, I also took those same community wildfire protection plan concepts that we developed here in Jackson County. American Forest Resource Council that I just came back from was a strong partner with Jackson County developing new legal framework to be able to develop our wildfire protection plan And that's just finally getting finalized here after a couple of years, and we have the first comprehensive risk analysis of our communities, and it's the first one in the nation that's as comprehensive as it is. I've been working with Murkowski's office and Cantwell's office. Murkowski is a senator out of Alaska. Cantwell is a senator out of Washington State. They are basically the chair and the minority leader for the Energy and Natural Resource Committee coming out of the Senate. The Senate has been the hang-up for a lot of this natural resource to actually get done.
Is that something that Senator Wyden has been saying, get out back in the woods, and yet the whole Senate is
the Senate's been the hang-up, yeah. So anyway, I just got back from D.C. a couple of weeks ago, where I met with their offices and the Senate Interior Appropriations staff to be able to get this done. And I'm receiving assurances that this will be done sometime soon, either this month or next. Wow. It'll come out of committee. And what I saw in this is that this local planning, it will be able to be tied into federal planning. So our local community wildfire plans that we put together, that we can basically write a prescription for forest health, will be tied into federal legislation. And then in the communities that can't afford this type of comprehensive planning, we worked on a process.
And this is all fire suppression.
This is all, well, it's done under the fire concept, because healthy forests are fire resilient.
Right.
Now, to get back to a fire condition class 1, which is a resilient, healthy forest, it's going to take removing some materials.
Where are we in the classification right now?
Well, anyway, it's like
That's
a 3-year. Yes. Let me get back to.
That's not an easy question. Easy answer.
The Interior Appropriations and Cantwell's and Murkowski's offices basically told me that they're working on putting about $40 million of funding aside to be able to fund the local counties to write these plans. It'll take about a 3 to 4 year process to get all the money out, about $10 million a year, about $60,000 to $70,000 per county, to write this comprehensive plan. So what it does is it gives counties a little bit of local control, like we've been arguing and talking about for a long time, on federal prescription of land management, and that's a really good thing.
Is this like an ounce of prevention equals a pound of cure? Am I hearing that?
It's
coming out of two senators' offices?
You got it. And I see it in a very positive way. I'm very excited to see some of this stuff. And a lot of these concepts actually came from a white paper that I marched around D.C. 2.5 years ago. And I spent a few days with a lot of meetings trying to get these concepts rolling. So, I'm under fire for some of this travel by the press.
Right.
But if you want to talk about the return on investment for this travel and stuff, we're actually making headway. And I'm so excited to see it.
Wow, that's great. Commissioner Doug Breidenthal, stick around, because if we have a few minutes.
Yep.
All right, get to a break and come right back, because this is pretty awesome, actually. More on the Sunrise Show, 45 minutes after the hour, about 48 degrees. We'll be back on News Radio 880 KCMX.
Shout, shout, I'm talking to you, so come on. Shout.
Good morning, everyone. 49 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to the Sunrise Show. We were just getting into some deep conversation with Jackson County Commissioner Doug Breidenthal. And Commissioner, you just mentioned that, first off, you got an interview coming up tonight, KOBI, Channel 5. It'll be part 1 of whatever series. We don't
Multi-night, yeah.
Yeah, in the 6 o'clock hour, could be around 6:30, but not sure.
They told me the bottom half of the 6 o'clock hour.
Okay, there you go. That'll be tonight. Related to all the issues going on in the county. But the Western region, you've been voted in. You ran campaign for president. It was president-elect, and it was a year ago, right? So now
I'll be assuming the presidency in May.
Now, and that's it's not Western region.
Yeah, 15 states, 551 counties, including Alaska and Hawaii.
That's what I wanted to get. So 551 counties. 15 states.
Representing 15 states. It's the strongest voice that we've ever had here in Jackson County on a national level for a commissioner.
This is excellent. This is really excellent. And the Western Interstate region
Correct.
of counties.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a, if you look at what we did with Waters of the U.S., when, everybody was talking about Waters of the U.S. and the EPA over-regulating on storm drain runoff and everything like that, it was the counties that basically led the charge and said, no, you can't do this. This is an overreach.
Yeah.
WIR was one of the leaders on this particular piece, and we were able to get the governors on board, and we were able to get the states working forward, and lawsuits were, and we stopped it. So that is the level of work we'll be able to accomplish. And my focus is going to be in several different areas, not just with public lands, but it's going to be transportation, healthcare, and some other issues that are very unique to the Western United States.
It's interesting. The reason I asked these counties, is because I'm hearing from counties all across the region, Garfield County in Utah, right there, Panguitch, the Grand Staircase.
I know those guys. I work with them regularly.
Decimated. Malheur County. I've talked to commissioners over there. Decimated. Harney County. And I'm getting into these regions, and I'm not. And then you have Josephine County Commissioner Cheryl Walker, and I know they're taking a lot of heat over there. They drafted a letter. They didn't send it to the governor related to emergency law enforcement issue. But these counties are on the cliff. They're on the edge. Are you hearing that across all? Washington.
That is a common theme. And basically what's happening here is going to make things really complicated is the timber subsidy that's going to happen on the SRS side that we've been receiving for a long time.
Right.
It's pretty much going away.
I know.
There's nothing there. And what people don't realize is that as the SRS dollars go away and we go back onto those receipts, basically we have PILT, payment in lieu of taxes.
Right.
That number for our county will actually come up, but it won't be enough to offset the loss of the SRS. Now, the other counties that rely on heavy amounts of PILT, payment in lieu of taxes, because there's such federal ownership in those communities, their payment will be going down. So those tax payments, because it all balances out, because the PILT will be taking over the entire program. And that's going to have a major boomerang effect across the nation, because nobody will be receiving the amount of funding that they received in the past to be able to push forward the programs. Now, with that being said, I think there's going to be a large outcry nationally, and that will be the opportunity that we have to be able to move forward on some major land reform issues. And because you have to be able to have everybody rowing the boat in the same direction if we're going to get something done.
Amazing.
So the timing's just right to be able to get some things done, and these community wildfire protection plans that we've been working on is the way to do it, and having them funded and having local planning, being able to drive some of that local resource management would be the way to get it done. And I think the Senate's on board with that.
Amazing. And Elias, the rancher I spoke to over at Malheur County, part of the Rural Fire Protection Agency over there, and they work great with BLM, and they do a lot of the mop-up, and they actually, it's...
Well, if you look at it like this, I recently had a meeting with Jim Pena, the Region 6 forester and forest supervisor, and they're looking at going into a new model, and it's a total fire suppression system. Now, a total fire suppression system is something that is able to look at the social economic needs, the environmental needs, and the community needs, the whole aspect of it, and the forest health needs. So does it mean that there might be some material coming out to be able to clean those forests up? Yes. Does it mean there'll be set-asides and things done in such a way to protect some species? Yes. But I think there's a way to get this done so everybody's happy.
Wow. Commissioner, we're out of time. Thank you for coming in this morning. This is an amazing topic, especially when you realize down the road, and especially fire season is around the corner, and we've been taking it on the chin for a number of years, and we don't want that. We want healthy forests, we want clean air, clean water, and we want to be able to get out in the woods and enjoy all of that. Senator Wyden talks about tourism. We don't want that affected.
That's the one beautiful part about my background. I got 25 years in the fire service. I understand exactly what's happening. I understand how to get it done. And I'm helped driving the ship to make sure it's in the right spot for us at the end of the day.
Wow, that's
It's going to take another 6 years or so to maybe 5 years to get it done. But I think when it's done, it will be in a better place.
Wow, thank you so much. Well, Commissioner Breidenthal, thanks for coming in. We got to get to a break. Actually, not going to get to a break because we got to get out of the way for Alex Jones. So we'll do that. We'll be here tomorrow morning, bright and shiny. Sunrise with Craig on News Radio 880 KCMX. I'm Craig Froenig, your host. Thrilled to be in, and we'll, like I said, get out of the way for Alex Jones. Have a great day, everybody. It's going to be hot. They're talking 85 plus.